Hello, everybody, and welcome into Senior Living Live. My name is Melissa. Thank you so much for being with us. We are previewing our upcoming August webinar, which is August 17th at noon Eastern Time. It's called Practical Tips to Help Support Those Living with Dementia. AJ Cipperly, Vice President of Memory Care at the Arbor Company, will be our guest presenter. It is her first time hosting for us. I'm sure it will not be the last. And I am excited for you all to get a chance to see her in action. AJ, welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Melissa. I'm doing great.
Fantastic. Well, we're looking forward to this webinar. Our dementia webinars seem to be the most popular, so I'm sure we'll have it well attended for you. First and foremost, before we start talking about the topic at hand, let's talk about you. Tell us about your background and what you do with the Arbor Company.
Sure. I've been with Arbor for about 9 months now as the Vice President of Memory Care, which means I support all things memory care, all of our team members working in our memory care neighborhoods and memory care initiatives, things of that nature, training our team members, working with families, just ensuring that we're providing the best quality care that we can for the residents who call us home. And my background, I mean, I've been doing this for, 20 plus years in some form or fashion. I started out in a community and worked my way up. And here I am today. I've spent a couple of years working with the Alzheimer's Association, which was wonderful. And this is absolutely my calling and what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah, well, we're thrilled to have you. So, and like I said, I'm really excited for our viewers to finally get to meet you. We talk a lot with Susan Robbins, but it's nice to get AJ in the mix as well. And like I said, I'm sure it will be well attended. Now, a dementia diagnosis is something that can certainly be overwhelming. So what advice would you give someone receiving a diagnosis, well, for them to do immediately, whether it's for themselves or for a loved one in those early stages and in those early days?
Yeah, I mean, I think for both people, so the person receiving the diagnosis and or somebody who has a loved one who's receiving a diagnosis, my first couple of priorities would be the same. First of all, educate yourself. Knowledge is power, and it's super important to reach out and start to learn all that you can about the disease, about the resources and the support that's out there. But I do caution people, as you're learning and educating yourself, do it with the understanding that everybody else's journey isn't yours. So, taking in that information with that in mind is so incredibly helpful. So educating yourself is number one. The second thing I would say is start to build your team. Start to build your support team and what that looks like. Who's going to kind of be with you in this journey. If you're the person living with dementia, if you're the care partner, who's going to be around you? Who are you going to surround yourself with people to help you? Because it's not a one-man show. It's when one person is living with dementia, everybody around them is living with dementia.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And so, a lot of us love to feel like we can tackle everything and we're Superman or Superwoman, and, you're just going to need a lot of help. It's going to take a village. So that is a very good piece of advice. So that caregiving, right, typically falls on the spouse. So I know that this is a conversation that we're going to talk a lot about in your webinar, but why do you feel that it's important to define the difference between caregiver and care partner?
Yeah, so it's an important distinction, because when we see ourselves as a caregiver, it implies that relationship is one-sided. That I'm doing all the work. I'm giving care, I'm giving care, I'm giving care, and the other person is simply receiving it. When the reality is it's a partnership. It's a two-way street. And we see ourselves as giving care, like offering care to the person. But unfortunately, especially if it's a spouse or a loved one, what more often happens is we're kind of shoving our help at them. It's like, okay, you need my help to do this. No, I need to help you. No, you're doing that wrong. And so it becomes this, I'm pushing against you, and people don't like that. And so we're doing with each other rather than to each other.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. I didn't even think about that. And all the conversations that we've had, never thought about it that way. But these are the good ideas and conversations to start having at the beginning, right? So that where that place is from the very beginning and throughout the entire process. So if you personally are guiding somebody through this process, what would be a good template for a game plan to look like?
So, I mean, if we follow the sports analogy, again, developing your team, who's on your team, who are the key players, and what are the plays, meaning, what are our strategies? So talking about what my care and help looks like as my journey continues through dementia. So if I'm the person with a diagnosis, what is my game plan? How am I going to utilize my players that are on my team? What do I want during that game? Because it's about me and my wishes and my preferences, and talking about that, in the early days of getting a diagnosis is so incredibly important. It's hard to talk about the future and what's going to happen, and when am I not going to be able to, oh my gosh, am I going to forget, my spouse? I get it. It's really tough to have those conversations, but you want to have them now instead of waiting to put that all on your spouse or your care partner later on. So that's what I mean by talking about a game plan, is really just coming together and figuring out, what do I want my future to look like for myself, but then also for my care partners around me.
Yeah, and kind of a second part to that question is, who should be involved when we talk about this game plan? Are we talking family? Are we talking friends? I mean, who are we talking about? Are we talking about outside help that we can pay by the hour, or what are we looking at here, AJ?
Yes. So all of the above. Yes,
Okay.
certainly family, of course, neighbors, friends, but it also includes those professionals,
Yeah.
our physicians. It could be home health that comes in, or a companion, whoever can help guide me on this journey, whether it's early on or later on. That's a partner. It could be my financial advisor. That's a partner too. When I get a diagnosis, these are the things I'm going to talk to about that person. They're on my team.
Yeah. And as it progresses, of course, there may be more help needed. And then that's where, we have Arbor communities that have memory care specialists that are there 24/7 that can help, so that, it comes to a point, I guess, AJ, and we'll talk about this in the webinar, where you can't do anything else. It needs to go to people who are professionally trained to help somebody through this disease. So finally, if you can give us an aha moment from your experiences that someone should know about what living dementia really looks like or feels like.
I think for me, it's been that it is possible to live well with dementia. There's such this idea, this prevalence of thinking that dementia is, the long goodbye, or the person is disappearing. And certainly, my brain is changing, and I'm losing, the ability to think and do and some things that I used to do. I'm still me. I'm just different. And so I think it's important for people to understand, and what's been, something that I've realized along the way is that, it's about well-being, and it's about how can we support that, throughout this journey, and thinking about what can the person still do? What can they still give? What do they still have to offer? And there's so much there. I mean, yes, I'm not saying that this is a horrible disease, and people, it's tough, people struggle, I get it, but we can choose to live in that, or we can choose to live in seeing it from, okay, what's the positive side of this? What can the person still do? How can I help them continue to do those things? Even at the end, even at the end of this journey of dementia, the person still has something to offer. And I'm a testament to that, because the people that I've cared for throughout the years have taught me, have helped shape me into who I am today. So they have a lot to give. They have a lot to offer if we're just willing to see that.
Yeah, and those we hope those are comforting words for somebody who may be going through it, who hasn't maybe had the experiences that you have, or somebody else that's had that experience themselves with a family member too. And this is what we try to do. We try to give those experiences and share them with others, so that they can maybe find themselves within them, and maybe get a little help along the way. So AJ, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. We are looking forward to your webinar called Practical Tips to Help Support Those Living with Dementia. It is live August 17th at noon Eastern time, and you can head on over to our website to RSVP. It's www.seniorlivinglive.com. We will see you then.